Good afternoon, everybody. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. See, my name is Stephanie Grader. I am the HMIS team lead. We have our program specialists here, Brandy, Laura, Frankie, and Allie. And then we have, our BAs aren't here right now. And then we have our manager, Sam. Um, so let's just go ahead and get started.
Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to go over on our agendas. It's going to be the webinar reminders, any announcements that we may have for the HMIS Help Desk and Solari in general. We're going to go over Dwell and a little more explanation on what Dwell is and how it works. We're going to go over the new project questionnaire setup. We revamped it so it's a little easier to use. Stephanie will be going over that later. We're going to also talk about the online trainings for Maricopa and Balanced Estate LMS as we're rolling those out. They're going to be completely rolled out for use. And we're also going to go over client lock process. Our webinar reminders are to share any relevant information that you hear today with the appropriate staff in your agencies. The trickle-down motion is best for this information to get out to other people. Ask questions using the Q&A function. We will answer them accordingly. Attendance is collected by survey completion at the end of the session, so be sure to complete the survey and submit that to us so that we know that you had joined and we can record that in our documents. Webinar recording and notes will be sent out on Tuesday and Friday. Deadline to complete that video quiz webinar.
Sorry, I forgot to mention Adria is here with us as well from Dwell. Okay. Sam. Hi.
Sweet. And just on the last slide, it looks like we missed the dates, but the note should be sent out by Tuesday, July 1st, with the recordings if you're watching it and completing the quiz to be completed on Friday. We probably won't check on the 4th of July, honestly. We're not that passionate. We are more passionate about, the independence of our country. So we'll say the 7th on the Monday, but if you feel so obliged to send on Friday, we won't chastise you. So a few announcements. The first one, some people may be familiar with, and some people may not be familiar with, is the vendor RFP. So this is a request for a proposal. Basically, the three continuums of care in the state, Balanced Estate, Maricopa, and Pima as well, got together and they sent out a law document saying, are there any other vendors other than WellSky who would be interested in providing HMIS services for the state? So this would be a twofold thing potentially. Potentially, it could be a different vendor. So going away from WellSky to somebody else. The other potential thing, it would be potentially combining the three databases into a single database. So if you are an agency that happens to work in both Maricopa and Balanced Estate, or both Balanced Estate and Pima, and there's a couple of exceptional ones that participate in all three of them, instead of having multiple logins, you would have one login for the entire state for anywhere that you need for any clients throughout. So there's a lot of benefits to that, but it is a long and lengthy process. But since it is a process ongoing, we just want to make an update, make sure that everyone's aware of that process happening and sort of where it is. So right now, we've had 4 vendors apply to be the HMIS vendor for the state of Arizona. One of those does include WellSky plus 3 others. At this point, the proposals have been read and they have provided some demos. So we are working with a contractor who specializes in this sort of thing to help us walk through the process, assess the vendors, and sort of help make the decisions. Now, there's a work group that is sort of assessing the pros and cons of each vendor. Ultimately, it will be a decision by the COC board of each COC. So it's not going to be the HMIS team or Solari making that decision. It won't be an agency. It's going to be sort of after each continuum talks together, and this does include Pima. So Balanced Estate will go to their COC board and say, hey, do we have the approval to change vendors and become a single database? Maricopa would do the same thing, as well as Pima County. So how long that would actually happen and what that transition would look like is unknown, as the selection process is still ongoing. I imagine that selection process will end in July, And at that point, discussions about presenting to the COC board and weighing the costs and the benefits of transitioning. This is a big topic and it would be a big change for everyone in the state. So please feel free to throw some questions in the Q&A. I can answer those throughout. Or feel free to contact the help desk or email me directly if you have any questions or concerns. This absolutely cannot be a successful process unless we have buy-in from the entire community throughout the state. So please bring on your questions if you have them. The second update that we have is that the model for the balance of state ROI is changing. So if you are a person who works in both Maricopa and balance of state, you might notice there's some differences. One common complaint we've had with the balance of state ROI is that it doesn't work as people expect, it's difficult to manage, and often the data doesn't share when you're planning or expecting it to. So on August 1st, we will switch the model. And so in the future, and Brandy's going to cover this later, in the future, when you have a client who wants to not share the information, instead of using the ROI tab, you would then go ahead and submit a ticket to the help desk to lock that profile. We still recommend recording the ROIs in balance of state for record keeping purposes, but functionally, it won't prevent sharing, and you'll have to submit a client lock request to the help desk instead. This should make things way more visible and easy, and care coordination a little bit easier. But as I said, Brandy's going to cover that later on in the presentation.
And then we are going to be deactivating our SurveyMonkey training links. Those links are on our website. This is so everyone can take the trainings on the LMS in Balance of State and Maricopa, and we are going to cover that, how to use the LMSs. Sorry, Laura and Ali are going to go ahead and cover that in a bit, but just a heads up, we are going to deactivate those links in early July. Okay, so now, so we did revamp or just redo the project setup questionnaire. So let me go ahead and show you all that. Second. Stop sharing. Okay. So here is the new format. I guess it's just more of a new format, and we added some extra questions just so we can get all the information that we need to set up the project, and there's no like back and forth. I mean, there may still be a little back and forth, but this is just trying to cut back on that. So we did add two sections here. So the agency information and then the project information. Again, this is just so we can verify the project's address, separate it from the agency's address. Again, just so we can have a more accurate information in the HMIS. So again, we're just going to ask for the agency information is for the person, the agency admin who's filling out the form, and then we have the project information, so that's going to be the contact for the project. So that's what those two contacts are about. And then we also added, if you are in the Balance of State COC, which counties will your project be serving? Again, just so we can get a more accurate setup going from the start. Let's go to the next page. And then here, we're just trying to verify if a project is federally funded, because we do have requirements and reporting obligations for those types of setups. So if you choose one of these federal partners, it'll take you to that grant information that we'll need. So I'll just choose ESG here. And then again, EHG, it's asking for the city that is providing that grant. But here it goes to the grant information and like just the general questions that we had before, providing a description if there's an existing project. So these questions were there before. We just, again, have it formatted differently. But if you are not federally funded by one of these programs, oops, wrong one, sorry. And you can choose none of the above, and that takes you to just generally what is your funding sources. Again, this helps us with the setup. I'm just picking random dates here. If there is an end date, you can put that in, but we do need a start date for the funding. We added the project type descriptions up here on the top of the project type page. You select your project type, and again, it's just a copy of those questions. We need a description, and if there's any other projects that we can copy. But let's just select a housing type here. So if you pick like homelessness prevention or street outreach, something that doesn't have like a housing inventory, the questionnaire is pretty short because we don't have to skip through a bunch of pages that don't apply to you. And then it just takes you to the final questions that were there before. One thing that we did add, we changed the inventory page for example, like permanent supportive housing, or actually, so rapid rehousing projects. We're trying to verify if it's services only. If it is, then, you know, we don't have to answer those inventory questions or anything like that. But we did update the inventory layout as well. So I'll just say this is a project-based site. So we still ask, you know, total bed inventory, total unit inventory. We give some definitions or descriptions of what bed and unit inventory are. And then here we have it broken up by the household types. So households without children, households with at least one adult and one child, or households with only children, persons under 18. So we have the bedding unit broken up like that. And the dedicated beds, we still ask if that applies to your project, then you would just, you can select whatever number the inventory is. This question here is just verifying if question 4 and question 3 add up to whatever you put in the inventory here. So that's just a check, so we don't get a bunch of random numbers in here. And then all these other questions were here before as well. Okay. And for the tenant base, we are asking about vouchers, if there is a fixed amount of vouchers. I know sometimes it's just a pot of money and you guys just have to spend it. So in case you do have a fixed number, we just ask, how is that broken up between the different household types? I think those are the most significant changes. I think that is it. I can't think of anything else that changed really. But if you guys start using this and you have suggestions, let us know. We can always update it and change it for you all. Oops.
I'm personally very excited about the change to that form. So I think I created a bad version of it many years ago. So but it's getting improved.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Yes, Adria, go ahead and take the wheel here.
Okay, well, thank you. Can you stop sharing your screen? All right, excellent. Okay, so my name is Adria Tena, and I am the program administrator for Dwell, and I am going to take you through an actual Dwell ROI training. I'll talk a little bit about Dwell itself, but this is actually a call to action to all of you in the room here. So if you have any questions, please jump in. I would definitely like to open this up for conversation. And if you need more details on Dwell or presentation to your organization, we can talk more about that. So again, this is the Dwell release of information training and call to action. All right, so this is just sort of a brief intro. If you're not sure what Dwell is, if you haven't heard yet, this is a statewide integration data warehouse project. So essentially at this time, Arizona does have all 3 HMIS systems flowing nightly into Dwell. So this is a huge accomplishment, but we are ready to take the next step. And there's 2 things that really need to happen. So the ROI collection for Medicaid data, which I'm going to talk about, and then are going live and actually getting users into the warehouse. So our main goal is to help you all with your coordination of care, essentially connecting you guys with the information that you need to do your jobs. And we get a lot of feedback from some people actually in this room who are part of our care coordination work group. So we have a feedback loop that's part of our sort of governance and how we're designing the warehouse. So you guys are sort of giving us the use cases and telling us what your needs are so that we can collect data sets that would be relevant to your work. Our sort of second overall, our overarching goal is looking at analysis, like statewide analysis and understanding of the homeless population, our inflow and our outflow to permanent housing, for example, and just really understanding the system and how you guys operate, what's working and what's not for you guys. So we have 2 large goals. Going here, okay. So I'm going to skip right in. That was like a very general overview of kind of what Dwell is, an integrated data warehouse. But I want to talk more to this group and the work that you guys are doing. So getting access to the data warehouse. This is a view-only platform where HMIS, you're actually entering data in. Dwell is not that. Dwell is just a view-only. It is there to collect data, match those data sets, and then give you a more holistic picture of an individual. So there's no organizational and user fees right now. So that's really important for you to know, for you to take that information back to your agencies. We will be onboarding agencies and users such as yourselves to access and get in there and view the data that's in Dwell. Participation is entirely voluntary. So that's important for you guys to know. There's no state or federal mandates to utilize Dwell as a user organization. And that is also why there are no fees and licensing sort of attached to it, if you will. Instead, what we're doing for data sharing is we're doing click-through agreements. So you as a user and your agency would sign an agreement basically stating that you will be responsible with the data that you are viewing in Dwell, and that will allow you access amongst other trainings. There is something important for all of you to know. We are asking, and this was sort of a feedback that our care coordination work group gave. They helped me to set up the liaison role. So we're asking that each agency has a liaison that sort of communicates between your organization and Dwell, helps to make sure staff get to the appropriate training so that they can become a user. And it's not as intense as being a liaison for your organization with HMIS. I think that has a little bit more responsibilities. So for example, you guys don't have to go in and activate or enter new users. We do that on the back end. All right, so I'll let you just take a look at that for a second, because I would like to collect any questions on this particular thing. This may be the first time some of you are seeing this role. So I'm gonna just let you,
And
yeah.
Adrian, we do have a question in the chat. So
Okay, yes.
is the data being exported from the 3 individual HMI systems into the data warehouse?
Yes, every night. And it's going back 6 months. So if you didn't get your data in or your data entry in, it is going back in time to make sure to collect anything that was entered late.
And is that currently just the HUD data elements with expansion in the future?
Yes, yes, it is. And there are opportunities for expansion, like getting a coordinated entry information in there, maybe assessment information into Dwell. And of course, we are working on pulling over the releases of information, and I'm going to get to that very soon. Good questions. Okay, so let's take a dive and just look at what the warehouse looks like. I think this is fun. This kind of gives you guys a visual of what's to come. So none of this is terribly new information that you don't have in HMIS. The difference is that this is matched across the 3 COCs, right? So you're looking at people who potentially have received services in a different COC than yours, and you'll be able to see that. So this is sort of a general sort of dashboard of a test client. This here is where you're going to actually see. So this is enrollments. And you'll see here where somebody was in Balances State and received vet services there for approximately 30 days and then went into Maricopa and, excuse me, and entered a program where they were in there for quite some time. So you can see that sort of rollover of transition through the COCs, which there may not be a huge amount of individuals who we're going to see across them, but we will find out soon. Then we have the self-reported disabilities, and this is where it becomes sort of important because we know that HMIS is self-report. This is why we want to integrate additional data sets, because we want to verify and match information so that you have the most accurate information on the individual, including like their name and their date of birth and some of those very important vital information. This one particularly is self-reported physical disabilities. And you can see all of the projects over time where this person has reported a physical disability. This here is a canned report. So supervisors, if you are here, if you manage a team, this may be of interest to you. So Dwell has canned reports. These are statewide reports. You can drill down on project ones similar to HMIS. But this is a canned report that you may have access to. And this one is a veterans report that I pulled from September of last year to March of this year. So it's real data. And this tells us about veterans entering these particular programs. So you can see how many enrolled with during that time period, how many were active, how many sort of came in, new entries, and then how many exited during that time. I won't go through all these numbers for sake of time, but I do want to point out here that we have a large amount of veterans going into transitional housing. And that may be contributing to some of our successes, which you're going to see in just a second right here. So during that September of last year to March of this year, 556 veterans have been placed into permanent housing. And that could be because there's a large amount of them going into transitional housing, and perhaps that is helping with the success rate for this particular group of people. So that is the kind of reports you may be able to see as a supervisor or manager. One last thing that I want to point out and there's lots more features in Dwell, so I'm just showing you a few little things. But this one is generates a homeless verification PDF, which some people seem to find potentially helpful. So this will highlight whether or not a person meets HUD criteria for chronic homelessness. And that is when you generate the PDF, this is exactly the report that you will receive. So if you need this for housing applications, Social Security benefits, things like that. Any questions there? Because we're about to jump into the actual ROI.
I have a couple, so I'll read them off to you, just so it's easier for the recording. The first one, Adria, you're amazing. So I agree. So that one's easy to answer. The second one is, What kind of data analytics functionality does Dwell have, and who will be granted access to the data analytics functionality?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And so there's going to be some limited analytics that a supervisor or program manager can do. We are exploring the ability to sort of drill down by your projects and be able to still see like COC project level information. Our advanced analytics, like our statewide look at analytics, is going to be our ASHAC group. And that is made up of the 3 Arizona State universities, researchers and statisticians who are working with us to look at like our system learning, to understand what's going on. Is there ways to prevent homelessness? What is working within the system now? What programs are effective and why? And then a number of other queries that they're trying to answer. But as far as a provider goes, we do have a level of access that is above the program reporter where you're getting canned reports. There is the ability to go in and do more advanced analytics, and that would be a particular role that, like, let's say a data analyst within your organization would want or have access to, but it would be limited to those individuals, and they can run more advanced queries in Dwell. I hope that answers your question. Is there any other questions, Dan?
Then that last one was, can we request custom reports?
Yes, yes. So that's a huge benefit. Definitely, you can request custom reports. We do want to hear from you. We want your feedback of what that looks like, because perhaps, you know, that can be a canned report that other people can pull because it's a common need. So we are gonna be looking out for your feedback and requests, so we can better learn again how to meet your needs. And data dashboards too. If your organization wants a dashboard, for example, that's also an option.
All the questions in the chat.
Thank you. All right, so let's get into the release of information, sort of why this is important, right? We're looking at a statewide implementation for the Dwell ROI. Right now, we are needing it to bring in the Access Medicaid data set. So just to be specific, if you look at this list here, these are the access elements that we're going to be bringing into Dwell. CBI has already started collecting these ROIs. They did sort of the test phase for me so that I could better understand how the workflow looks for individuals such as yourselves and how doable this is, and whether or not there were any barriers. And so there were no barriers reported. The staff said it took about 10 minutes or so to, you know, get the ROI sign and upload it into HMIS, which I'm going to talk about more. But these are the access data elements that we are going to match with the HMIS client profile. And that is the whole purpose of my being here with you today. And this is the call to action, is that we would like to get this ROI out there and for individuals such as yourselves to begin having clients sign that ROI. And I'll provide you with the materials to do this. This is sort of the workflow, so that you know how it looks, why you're doing this, what is the bigger picture. So in your organization, if you meet with a client, you're entering them into HMIS, or let's say they've already been inserted into HMIS, but you're seeing them again, now you have the Dwell ROI, you're going to sit down with your clients, talk to them about signing it, and hopefully get it signed and in to Dwell, or into HMIS. So they sign the ROI, and then you as a staff would upload this directly into your HMIS system. You don't have to access Dwell or anything like that to do this work. It fits within your current workflow. So they'll sign it, you upload it, and then the ROI gets sent from HMIS system to Dwell. Dwell sends that to Access, which you see here in green coming down. Access matches the data on their end. We send them the release of information. They say, okay, this matches with this client, and then they will release that data into Dwell. Once that is done, it is available to view in Dwell, and then staff are granted access to Dwell to see matched Medicaid and HMIS data. That's the workflow. Now I'm going to take you to how the magic is done and what resources you have at your disposal to make this happen. So I have, I think, put in the chat. Yeah. You guys can join me. And I am going to log into our website here. Well, not log in. I'm going to open the website. Okay. So this has been a recent sort of work in progress, if you will. This is what the Dwell website looks like. Please feel free to jump in, as I said, to click around. The home page here is just an explanation of who we are and what our purpose is and what we're doing. So that's the home page, and it explains our goals. But if you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to go to the pages that are most important to you. The support page here. The privacy page has really important information for the ROI, but I'm going to start with the support page because this is where the bulk of your resources are going to be for this ROI. All right, so here you're going to find agency onboarding information. So start digging around, guys. You can learn all about how to get your agency onboarded, designating your liaison, and really start thinking about how this could look. Dwell, we really hope to be up and running around fall. So let's take a look in here. So remember that agency liaison I was talking about? Here it is. Here's, for example, an agency onboarding application. You click on it, it's an MS form. It's pretty simple. The applications, they're not too difficult. Pretty straightforward. This is really important if you yourself feel very ambitious about a project like this and you want to be in the forefront of something huge in our state and you want to be that agency liaison. Here are your sort of roles and responsibilities. I don't know why it looks kind of funny here, but okay, there we go. I won't go through these in detail because you have access to them, but this sort of spells it out for you. What are the primary responsibilities? How do I communicate with you? What kind of trainings will you have to go through? And I just want to let you know that the total training time for you and a user is about 30 minutes because it's not a data entry, right? You're only viewing information. So the training is very straightforward and it's mostly about data security and privacy. So anyhow, that is a resource. Oops. Let me get back in there. Okay. I also have this. This is important. This is a query form. So if your agency is interested in becoming onboarding, you want to become a user, agency liaison, this is just a form for you to say, hey, I need more information. My agency needs more information. Can you present? Here's our data security and privacy training, and here's our new user setup request. Lots of things, but I'm gonna skip down to the ROI for sake of time. All right, so folks, this is it. This here is your ROI form. Open this up, download the form. Have them sign it, upload it into Dwell. And we have videos in here, and we have, thanks to Sam, actually made a video for all of you guys and put together a step-by-step instruction of how to upload in the Balance of State and Maricopa HMIS systems. I do just want to point out something very poignant, I guess. If the client does not sign the ROI, this does not mean their HMIS information isn't viewable, because it still is. If they don't sign the ROI, essentially just means that we can't match the access data, and therefore we can't then match them in the future with potential housing opportunities that we are working with, like H2O, access housing programs, things like that, that will be coming down the pipe. So really important to know sort of what is the benefit to this, if you will. Okay. How do I keep losing my page when I click on it? All right. Okay. Next here, There is a revocation form, so just be aware if somebody signs it and then later wants to decline, you have a revocation form here. This talking with people about your data, their data privacy and security is a resource form. So I've literally just provided talking points for you, for your staff, to be able to communicate with the client. What is the purpose of this release of information? How is their data secured? How do they know it's not going to go to somebody they don't want them to have access to? So it has a lot of information in there for you. And then here are your training guides. So if you notice, if TPCH does have its own, but there's a workflow guide and a quick guide, and then an actual video training. So I'm not going to open up and go through and make you watch the video training right now. It's very short though. So again, like I said, to do a lot of this stuff, it takes minimal time, you know, to get started with Dwell. But nonetheless, here is the ROI, here is how to talk about the ROI, and here are your just detailed instructions of how to enter that and upload your ROI into HMIS. And then I do have a user support request form that you can submit if you need anything at all. And then I'll also put the email in the chat. I hope you guys can't hear my dog. He's like coughing up along in the background. I'm so sorry if you can hear him. All right. That's it, really. That's what I have for you guys. Yeah, I mean, I think that the main idea of this training is that we really need to capture everybody and get an ROI on them to match their data. This is the only way that it really works to integrate data at this time. I know that having to print it and upload it isn't, you know, our most favorite way of doing this, but we are planning to make this more electronic and streamlined for you guys in the future.
So we do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So one of them was, the question is, so essentially we will have the client sign 2 HMIS ROIs.
Yes,
and
they'll sign HMIS and Dwell. So anytime you're doing a packet or whatever, you're going to do them together.
And I would just like to make the distinction that the Dwell isn't a specific HMIS ROI. The Dwell is for the access information to be
Yes.
pulled into, to be available for people who work in HMIS. We have another question here. It starts with, we are an emergency shelter and do not bill insurance. Will the Dwell ROI still be required for us?
It's not that it's required for any particular agency. So let me tell you, anybody that can access HMIS can upload an ROI. It does not matter what your funding stream is. That is not relevant actually in this situation. So it's very, a little bit more open as far as who can have access. If you're like working with an agency, for example, that isn't an HMIS designated agency, that's okay. They can still access Dwell. They can still collect ROIs, you know, to pass on to somebody to enter into HMIS. And if we get a different ROI system, maybe eventually they'll be able to just click through and do the ROI in Dwell. That's what I'm hoping in the future. But there's no funding ties or anything of that nature, and you don't have to be an HMIS agency. So think about it like this. Somebody from a church who is working with the homeless population and needs to, you know, that's where that person goes, and that's their only sort of like entry into some kind of support system. They can potentially go into Dwell and find information that they need to connect them with you, right? Or connect them with their health provider or something like that. So that's sort of an obscure example, but that's really how far this can go.
Another question we have, and I can answer this one. It says, is this mandatory for BOS? So I'm going to speak from the HMIS team's perspective. It is not a mandatory thing that we're rolling out. This is really a partnership trying to match data with homelessness information as well as access data. So the feedback we've gotten from providers in HMIS a lot, it'd be really valuable to know what health plan they're working with, who are they working with, what sort of SMI designation do they have, and so forth. A lot of this information is very sensitive, so it's not information that you can pull into HMIS. The Dwell AZ ROI just gives authorization for access to release the client's information, very sensitive, protected information. And so it's not a mandatory thing that the HMIS team is rolling out. It is sort of a next step in care coordination. And this Dwell AZ ROI just provides the ability to really match that data from access, that important medical data, with the homelessness information.
Yeah, and your participation, like as a user to, use Dwell is voluntary, just the same.
And the final question we have, it goes back just a little bit, but real quick, you mentioned the higher level access for reporting. Will there be a cost associated with that higher level of access?
Not necessarily the access piece, but perhaps there's a product piece. So if your agency, for example, wants an ongoing dashboard and we're updating it, let's say in real time, and it's going to take us, a couple of weeks to build that dashboard for you, or let's say a certain amount of time a month to maintain the dashboard for your organization, there may be a nominal fee involved in that. We have not really crossed that bridge just yet, but I think based on what we learn from all of you, that will help us to sort of have a better idea of what the need is. But we do want to minimize the cost to the community as possible, when possible. So not access fees, but product fees there may be.
And that's the last question I see in the Q&A.
Thank you for the questions. I'm glad that your wheels are turning, that you're thinking about the possibilities of how this could be useful to you or your organization. So I'm just asking at this time if you could please, go in there, download this ROI, take whatever instructions you need off of here, watch Sam's video. He did a great job. And let's get ROIs into Dwell. And very soon here, I'll be circling back to this group so that you can see the fruits of your labor, so that you understand that, you are doing this for a reason. And I'll show you guys, once we get match data in there, I will share it with this group, so you can see, how your hard work has paid off.
Hey, Adria, can I add one more thing, please?
Please do.
Yeah, I was just hopeful that you or Sam could provide an email that could be used with any of our users here would like to be able to provide almost like a wish list of things that they'd like to see as far as functionality goes with regards to reports or whatever it is that they're hoping to be able to see. I mean, right now it's a wish list, but we'll see what we can make happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know if we have one currently set up for Dwell or if we just want to use our HMIS admin email.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can talk more about, John. I think it's a great idea. It's definitely what we need. Yeah, let's think more about that and how we can expand the feedback loop.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely. And just know there are other agencies that are interested in sharing and exchanging data, like DOC, for example. Wouldn't it be great to see who somebody's probation officer is, or something like that, right, on our end?
And then Stephanie, I think we'll kick it back to you, Stephanie.
Okay.
Thank you, Adria.
Thank you, guys.
Adria, you did put an email in the chat, the
Yes.
Dwell AZ. Is that a good email for anybody to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, reach out, give me your comments, feedback, questions, and you can definitely respond to John's career about reports and data elements that you would need that may be relevant, even if it's just a wish list.
Okay. We'll send that out in the notes. The
Fantastic.
email.
Thank you,
Adria.
Thank you guys for your time.
We'll go ahead and start.
Alrighty, so we're going to go over new user packets and the learning management system where users do their training. So just some little notes on the new user packet. We want to make sure that before you send in a new user request, that you're aware that agency admins should be responsible for making sure that the user filled out the packet correctly, and that you have the certificate before sending in that request. And then we just wanted to reiterate that users only need to fill out the code of ethics form. Admins should be filling out that first page with the user's information, the projects that the user needs access to, and what that user's role is going to be, as well as the signatures that are required by the supervisor or admin at the bottom of the page. And so me and Allie are going to do a little skit going over how it would look like, a possible process. We don't know exactly how you guys do it on your end, but a possible process of how it would look like to ask for that new user packet to be filled out and ensure that the user completed their training. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Stephanie, if you're able, thank you. Alrighty, so here I am playing as the admin. Allie is the new user. So I'm sending her an email saying, hey, new user, please fill out this code of ethics form on page 3 and 4 and return the packet with your training certificate. I'll ensure that the rest of the packet is filled out. And then I'm telling them where to register for that training. So you can complete your training through LMS. You can find the link here. And then once you finish the appropriate training for the program types that you'll be entering data into, please download a copy or a screenshot of your certificate and send it back to me. And then the same thing for balance of state. Right now we're using the Maricopa, but for balance of state, you would just use that balance of state registration link. Okay, and then the user sent it back to me saying, hello, attaches my new user packet. Again, it's my responsibility to make sure that I have all that I need before sending in that request. So I'm going to open the ticket or the attachment, the packet that they sent. And I'm just going to make sure that everything is signed correctly. Again, I told them just to fill out the code of ethics form. So it's up to you if you wanted to fill this out first before sending it to the user, or have them just fill out, the code of ethics form and then fill it out before sending in that request for a new user. So again, I'm just going to fill that out really quick. User's name. Oh, agency's name, sorry. User's name, new user, job title, case manager, email address. If you are not using the fillable packet and instead, printing it, scanning it, writing it out, we just ask that either in the ticket or just keep in mind how you're writing it so we're able to read it correctly. If the text is a little confusing, then we just ask that you put in the ticket what the user's name, role, and email is. And then their phone number, if you would like. Again, we want to make sure that you're check marking what their role is. And then the important part here is the projects that they will need access to. If you don't enter any projects here, then they'll have access to the top level, your top level agency with children included, meaning that they're going to be able to see any and all projects under your agency. So you want to make sure to give us that specific detail of what projects don't need to be entering data into. You need to enter 2, you can definitely do that. And then again, you're going to specify that the user completed training. They have their code of ethics signed. Not letting me click it. And then you want to make sure that you sign your signature as a supervisor. Again, you want to make sure that they completed the code of ethics correctly. They initialed every point and then signed at the end. And again, you want to make sure that you sign at the end of their code of ethics. Okay, so once that's completed, I see that her code of ethics was signed. I filled out the rest, but she didn't send in her training certificate. So again, I'm just going to respond to her saying, hey, I'm still in need of that training certificate. Please register here, send that link again. tell them you must complete the training for the programs you'll be entering data into, and then just give them a little more information if they're confused on which trainings they're supposed to take. So I said you'll be working in case management and emergency shelter, so please take the trainings related to that. If you need help, you can let me know or submit a ticket to the HMIS help desk and a program specialist can assist you. So I also, it would be good to add our help desk link so they can submit that ticket, and if we need to reach out to them, then we will. Okay, so once I sent that to the user is going to go in and show you how to complete that training.
Can everyone see my screen? It should say the Maricopa Continuum of Care. Can we see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so if you ever need the link for the registration or the LMS platform, they are already in the new user packet. So if you need the BOS one, that is right there. If you need the Maricopa one, it is also right there. So if you do need the BOS one, I'm going to start with BOS and then I'll go into Maricopa County. Clicking on that link, it'll take you, nope, it'll not take you there yet. It'll take you here for your registration. So you'll put whatever you want as your username. We do recommend that it's like first initial, last name, last name, whatever is easiest so that we can recognize that it's you and that you'll also remember it. Your first name, your last name. We also will recommend that you use your work email as opposed to like your personal email. That way everything's all together in one spot. What's your job title and then what organization you work for. You'll hit submit. Also be patient with the BOS LMS. I do believe it's one person entering in everyone's information. So be on the lookout for that. In the BOS LMS, you'll start at the homepage. You won't start there. It'll kind of give you this. You'll go to course catalog. You will click on, where did it go? BOS, HMIS trainings, and all of the trainings that you will need will be here. So if you do need that case management one, you will click on this. You'll start, it'll say like start or resume. It'll say start or resume for me. You will watch the videos and you will, I kind of started this so I could kind of show everyone. If you pass, it will say pass, let's continue. If you did not pass, let me just click through it. If you did not pass, at the end of the 6 questions, it will say did not pass, try again. So you'll just click on that in order to get those answers. It'll let you redo the questions a few times. So let's say you finish it and it's done. You can go into kind of where this little arrow is. You'll go to my certificates and it'll say all the certificates that you have completed. Click on this little flower-like icon and it will download that. So you'll be able to continue with those. For the Maricopa County, oh, don't open anything. Okay, don't open anything. Sorry, my computer's being weird. So when you go to Maricopa County, if you do not have an account, you'll click on don't have an account. You'll fill out all this information, hit register. This one's pretty quick, so you'll get a registration email fairly quickly on that one. If you do have an account, you'll log in. If my Wi-Fi decides it wants to load, we're gonna ignore everything that keeps popping up because it'll take you to this homepage. You will go to HMIS trainings. And all of the HMIS trainings that you could need will be on this page in particular. So I need the case management training. So if it is completed, it will tell you your score for everything. And then on here, you can just click view certificate and then click download. Yeah, so that is the LMS platforms. I will stop sharing. If anyone has any questions about those.
No questions have popped up yet. So
we killed it, Laura. We got it.
It really is helpful to see 2 different people because there's always that packet has like 2 people filling out that one packet, and that's just so many questions all the time. So that's really helpful for me personally.
All right, so just in conclusion, we're going to go over the new process here for clients who do not want to sign the ROI or who select no on their ROI. And just again, this is just for BOS. So this is just a process change for a BOS. Clients who select no on the ROI and choose not to share their information, starting August 1st. When a client selects no, you must submit a ticket to the help desk to lock the client profile. So just be mindful to only include the client ID in the ticket body and do not include client PII, such as name, date of birth, and social security number. So if you can go ahead and stop sharing, Stephanie, I'm just going to go over the process here to submit a ticket. So again, clients who are choosing not to share their information will be going here. You'll need to go in and submit a ticket to lock their client profile. All right, so right here from our home screen, you're going to hit submit a ticket. And then right down here, client issues and a client lock. And from here, you would fill out the information. Please lock client ID. Client selected no on ROI.
Super straightforward. So we have one question. So it was, can anyone submit this ticket, or does it need to be a lead? And it can be anyone. There are agencies that might choose to process things through a lead directly, just for the purpose of managing the process and making sure that everything's filled out or labeled correctly. But this is available to all users. Oh, I keep raising my hand instead of pressing Q&A. So apparently, okay, I have another question here. If BOS is going to lock a client, if BOS is going to a lock client system like Maricopa, do we still need to capture the ROI annually, or will it be one time like Maricopa? It will still be required annually. So the actual text of the ROI imbalance state and the privacy notice does indicate a 1 year sort of recurrence. So that will still be at a yearly basis. And then next, is there a way to view tickets once they've been submitted? Defer to somebody else on this one.
Yeah, I think you have to register or create an account in the ticketing portal, then you can see all your tickets that you have submitted.
Let's see here. Okay, we have lots of questions about this. So if the client decides to share at a later date, is this possible? If so, how?
Yes, you would just update their ROI to sharing and then submit a ticket to have the client unlocked. So it goes both ways. Either they're being unlocked or locked. So
Perfect. We have with their files being locked, will they still come up on the BNL? This is yes. So the way it works right now is that their data is restricted in the BNL, but they still come up. The client will still come up on the BNL with a locked profile. And then we just have a comment from another user. Is this you are able to see both open and closed tickets in the portal if you register for the ticketing portal. And just check out the chat as well. So get more feedback on just how users are using the chat. And that is all the questions I see right now.
okay, we'll go ahead and conclude. We're 3 minutes over. So again, your feedback is important. If you could go ahead and complete the survey, that's the end of the meeting. We would appreciate that. But I don't see any other questions. So again, we'll go ahead and let you go. You all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.